Merhaba arkadaşlar, ben Metasel. Bu videomda sizlere WebShark aracını kullanmayı göstereceğim. WebShark nedir arkadaşlar? Bundan bahsedeyim sizlere. WebShark arkadaşlar içinde Spider port tarama özelliği gibi eklentilere sahip olan bir araçtır. Terminale WebShark -GUI yazalım arkadaşlar ve hiç söz uzatmadan başlatalım yazılımımızı. Arkadaşlar direkt karşımıza çıkan pencere port tarama kısmıdır. Biz buradan ilk önce Spider'la başlayalım. Arkadaşlar bu target'i hedef site yazıyoruz. Hedef sitemiz www.google.com olsun. Buraya port yazıyoruz arkadaşlar. Genelde port stabil 80'dir. Buraya da arkadaşlar sitenin hangi dizininden başlayacağını yazıyoruz arkadaşlar. Biz direkt ana sayfasından başlamasını istiyoruz. Tamam diyoruz arkadaşlar. O otomatikman dizinleri taramaya başlıyor. Arkadaşlar gördüğünüz gibi Spider arkadaşlar. Bu Spider'ın en güzel özelliği de arkadaşlar yan tarafta girdiği sitelerin e-mail adreslerini de listelemesidir. Ve arkadaşlar burada external links diye bir şey var. Bu da bulduğu sayfalardaki diğer siteler. Yani Google ait olmayan siteler. Onları da burada listeliyor. Bunun kullanımı böyleydi arkadaşlar. Port tarama özelliğine gelelim. Mesela www.google.com taratalım arkadaşlar. Tamamdır. Bu biraz uzun sürebilir arkadaşlar. Burada hızlandırabilirim videoyu. Gördüğünüz gibi arkadaşlar port tarama işlemi bitti. 2 porta çıkmış. 443 ve 80 port arkadaşlar. Arkadaşlar bugün öğreteceklerim bu kadardı. İzlediğiniz için teşekkür ederim. Kanalıma abone olmayı unutmazsanız sevinirim.
Hi guys, in the previous section we looked at cross-site request forgery and how it can affect a user and how we can prevent that. In this section, extra measures for the shop, we'll take a look at OWASP-ZAP. We'll see what two-factor authentication is, we'll talk about weak passwords and phishing, clickjacking, and finally wind up our course. In this particular video, OWASP-ZAP will talk about various features of OWASP-ZAP, like plug and hack, fuzzing, and how we can scan for vulnerabilities using OWASP-ZAP. OWASP-ZAP is another vulnerability scanner, but it has some interesting features that I think we should look at. So first things first, you can find OWASP-ZAP by going to the web applications and web application scanners. You can find it there, or you can simply type it in command line, such as this. Now it does take a little bit to run, don't worry, if you've just clicked it in the menu, it does take a little while to set up because of the different things it's running. As you can see, you can probably see it has Paros also running alongside with it to do certain capabilities. One of the things that I'm first going to look at here is the plug and hack option that we have available to us in Kali. And what you can do is to configure it, you can simply just click plug and hack, it will go to it, click setup and say I understand and enable. I already have the add-on installed. As well as that, if that isn't working correctly, you can also in your preferences change the network connection to localhost to 8080 and it should be okay, and then it'll be able to read what you're doing on your browser. So right now we can see that nothing's here at all, and if we go to the alerts, which is fairly important if we want to know about vulnerabilities in this program, so the alert is there, and if we go down and just refresh the page and go back to OS, we can see now it's loaded 4-5 alerts that it has here. So we have cross-domain JavaScript source inclusion, so I'm basically having a third-party JavaScript, so the Google API, I believe that is, yeah. Also we have other things like content type and X-frame options. If we just go ahead and use the spider option here down below, and we've already got it set as 192.168.1.3 because we're in that section. If we go over here, we'll obviously be scanning on the Google API site. We don't want that, we want to go on this host, so we highlight that, and then we'll click play, and it will start scanning in the current folders it already knows are available. So it will start to get other pieces as well. So the spider is done, and much like WEEF, we basically have a request and response that we can actually look at. So if we go back now and just enter login and put in sort of generic SQL error, we don't know what's happened here because of, like I said in previous videos, elements have gone in the way, but we do know that there's incorrect login details. If we go over to the OWASP-ZAP and go on here, we'll see the course login. We can see it actually has it available here for us. It hasn't picked it up yet that it's a MySQL injection, but it has noted there is an error because sometimes some of these errors can be caused in different ways other than SQL injection, so that is why it's currently an application error disclosure. But it's really a good idea that I like from OWASP-ZAP that there's a thing called plug and hack where you can basically test out various things. It will log out everything that you have available to you, and you're able to check back and look at the alerts that it has available to you in this section. So what we can do is we can also fuzz. Fuzzing is basically where we're just trying everything that's possible to see if it comes back with an error. So what you need to do for fuzzing is basically highlight where we want to go for fuzzing and click fuzz in the requests. And then we're going to choose SQL injection for this, and I'm going to highlight SQL injection. I'm going to fuzz, and it'll basically try different possibilities that it has available to it within that fuzzing table that it has. But really what we want to see is the response that it comes back with. So we know that it is an SQL injection here. So if we look at a response, it's okay, it's 200 okay, but if we go down in the source code, we can see that it does have SQL injection there. And that's good if it's not working in one way and you're not sure how to do it another. You can just send a fuzzing and see what comes back, successful or failed. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to simply just do an attack, which does take some time because it does various types of attacks on various inputs. So if we just click attack, what it will do is it will spider, it will do all of this for us automatically, and sometimes that isn't great and sometimes that is. That's why plug and hack and fuzzing is a good idea, and why sometimes automated attack sometimes works. So right now we have 8 alerts. If we just click attack and come back once that's done, we'll see what results have changed. So I've come back, it's about 15-20 minutes now since I started the scan. Obviously it'd be different depending on the size of the web application, and it's found a lot more than it would normally. It's found a lot more. It's got 13 now instead of 9. Found various exploits available to us, and we can use them. And also, if we go into one, much like Weave, you can have a look in the payload it provides, and it also gives you a little bit of information. The description of a cross-site scripting attack is available there. In this video, we've understood how to set up plug and hack in OWASP. We configured it with a browser, changing the proxy so that it could listen properly. And this is great if we want to do I call it semi-manual sort of scan of a web application, because you're basically getting alerts from the program from what you're interacting with, but you can also test it by yourself manually without having to use scripts that are pre-made for general applications. So you can do it in your own way but still get alerts, which I think is a fairly interesting concept. We also reviewed some of the OWASP features like plug and hack, like fuzzing, and also like spidering. There is a large amount of features in OWASP that can find vulnerabilities within a web application. In the next video, we'll be looking at two-factor authentication and how that can help users.
The Metasploit framework is an all-in-one exploitation tool that can be used to craft attacks against remote systems by combining pairs of exploits and payloads. To access it, enter the command msf console from the command line. Now I'm going to demonstrate just how easy it is to use Metasploit to exploit a discovered vulnerability. So we'll refer back to our previous section where we discussed how to discover vulnerabilities on a system, and we'll look at the results that we found in our Nessus vulnerability scan. And we'll select our Windows system here, and then I'll select a vulnerability that I know is exploitable within Metasploit. And notice in the description that it does tell us that execution of this exploit will allow you to execute arbitrary code on a remote system. And here in the vulnerability information, it tells you that it is exploitable with Metasploit, and it even gives you the description of the exploit that needs to be used. So we'll copy that description, and then we'll switch back over to our Metasploit framework console, and then we'll search for that description. And there it is. So then we just need to copy the path for that exploit, and then enter the command use, followed by that path. Then show options, and configure any options that need to be configured. So we'll set our remote host to the IP address of our target system. Then show options again to verify that that change was made. And then show payloads to see what different payloads we can pair with this exploit. And all of these are just different code that we can execute on the remote system by taking advantage of the exploit that it's paired with. So we'll go ahead and execute a bind TCP shell. So set payload and then paste the path of the payload that you choose. And then show options. And as you can see by the options of the payload, it is going to launch that TCP shell on port 4444. So then use the command exploit to launch the attack against our remote system. And there you have it. We receive an interactive shell on our target system. So now we'll perform a similar attack on a Linux system. So we'll search for the description of the exploit that we want to use. So Java RMI server. And then copy the path of the exploit. Then use, followed by that path. Then show options. And then we'll set our remote host to the target IP address. And then show options again. And as you can see, our remote host address has been updated. So then we'll show payloads. And this time we'll select a Meterpreter shell. And then we'll use set payload, followed by the path of that payload. And then show options. And once again, this will be opening our shell on port 4444. And then exploit to execute it. And now we have our interactive Meterpreter shell on our remote system. So that's the basics of using Metasploit in order to exploit vulnerabilities on target systems.